Yeah, hello everyone, and welcome to today's Female Fintech Futures panel brought to you by Alpian. I'm Tanya König, and I'm very delighted to be hosting today's 1 hour panel with 5 amazing women rocking the fintech and the impact investing area in Switzerland. And I'd like to introduce you to them now. So let me bring them up to the panel. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Tanya.
Hi.
Hi, Tanya.
Hi.
So we start with Marion Ozarzak-Folli. She's the managing director at Alpian. Prior to that, she has worked with high net worth clients to design financial solutions to extract data from their banks and financial service providers at the wealth manager. Then we have Caroline Delprat. She's the Chief Financial and Risk Officer at Alpian, and prior to that, she was a Financial Risk Officer at several financial institutions. Then we have Olga Miller. She's a fintech entrepreneur and co-founder of Smart Purse, which is an online education platform for women in financial matters. She was nominated for several awards, also won a few, including the UBS Innovator of the Year. Then we have Marie Ribeleuf. She's the head of client success at Alpian, and prior to that, she held several positions at Pictet and Deutsche Bank, including investment product manager and relationship manager. And we finish off with Natasha Gerda. She's the managing director and investment manager at Asteria. She has been in the area of ESG and sustainable finance and investments for about 20 years. So before it was a buzzword. Welcome. And it's wonderful to see that you are all joining. Thank you very much. And we'd love that you participate in this conversation. So please send in your questions through the chat on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll try to answer them as we go. And we already saw that there's one question coming in, but I will first start with mine and then we go on. So my first question is a bit general on fintech, especially about the current pandemic, which has accelerated digital banking trends for everyone, from payment startups to wealth managers. So I wonder, what trends are you seeing in the fintech area? Plus, do you think that fintechs have the necessary trust to really scale, or do they still need to earn that success, trust? Who wants to go first?
I can go first, Tanya.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think just in terms of the trends, I think that, I think a very important outcome has been that it's actually possible right now to work remotely, to be performing remotely. And I think that's also something that's relevant both for women and men as well. Working, juggling, family lives. I think that with the pandemic, we've been able to really show that we can actually work and perform both from the women and from the men from home.
Thank you, Mari. Olga, maybe on the trust side.
Yeah, look, I think that it's an enormous opportunity for all the fintech companies, not only the ones that help to make processes more efficient, but also the ones that help make investments more accessible, easier to understand, and add more convenience. And as it was already said, yes, I think digital had an enormous uptake. At the same time, I also think that the pandemic is kind of like a life event. It has shed so many things on personal finances, be it now probably on the less positive side, but also on the positive side. For many people, many things have changed. And I also think that our values have changed, maybe, for a certain part. As we will be looking at rebuilding things, as we will be looking at, emerging from all of this, it is an opportunity. And so that sheds light on topics such as, how do I invest sustainably? Where do I find the right products? And here is where fintechs have an enormous opportunity. An enormous opportunity to bring all of this knowledge into people's homes and to make it super convenient. Now, you asked me, Tanya, right, about this question of trust. I think trust has been a problematic question for financial services all the way through, right? We are not an industry that is easily trusted, and we still need to do a lot of work to earn people's trust by being transparent in pricing, for example, by engaging ourselves beyond the creation of financial products. And of course, I am the biggest advocate for financial education, but I think there is still a lot to be done to earn people's trust, but also a lot has already been done. So I'm super positive about the future of fintech.
Good, thank you. Who else?
I think if I can add on to Olga's points there, I think customer obsession is something that is really, really key. I think to remain competitive in this market, staying close to the clients, having a deep client insight, client focus, and really being completely passionate and obsessed about how are your clients being serviced. I think that's going to be your main competitive advantage. And I think it just goes to show that it's very easy in a fintech setup to open a client account. It is as easy to close an account, hence important to really nail the client success.
So a pretty positive outlook. Are you as positive as well, Marion, Caroline, Natasha?
Yeah, I mean, the element of the trust is extremely important, and that's why we are creating a model that is totally hybrid. At the time, you have something that is very innovative with the customer-centric elements, and we start all the processes around it, and we make sure that we are totally in line with the needs of the clients, and at the same time, the team of Marie will be totally in line with the client, answering their needs, and make sure that this trust is going to be built over time. Also, still on the trust aspect, it's very important, and that's why we have applied for the banking application at FINMA, and we expect to have an answer shortly.
So you were referring to as well Alpian, where you work, which is just, as we said, applying for a FINMA license.
Yes.
Caroline, do you want to add something?
Maybe I think maybe due to COVID or thanks to COVID, it depends on how you want to see this. The norm has changed. I mean, recently, last years, it's not common anymore to open an account in a couple of weeks, to sign 40 pages. It's not the norm. It has changed, and people want their application, their bank to change also and to be more modern. So I think it's very welcoming Alpian initiatives in order to smooth survey processes, because people and new generations, for instance, are looking for time, also energy and money to have everything at the same time. So of course they deserve and they want to have this kind of services. We need to trust on this, of course, but on the day-to-day use, they want to have the latest innovations.
We'll talk about that. You mentioned also the new generations. That's also one of the questions that we want to tackle. Some of you mentioned a little bit how the current pandemic, remote working has pushed more women into fintech. So I think Marie said that. Is it something that the rest of you also see?
I think that's an interesting question, in the sense that I have not went into fintech because of the pandemic, of course, but in fintech, since the beginning, we were able to have this balance, and you are able to work as part of the fintech and also to handle your personal life. Most of them at the panel, we are them of several kids, and we are able, thanks to new technology and open-minded also management, to handle and tackle our day-to-day job, and also to be there for our personal team that is supporting us, our family.
And if I may add to Caroline's point, it just brings a balance between your personal life and your work life. And for women, it makes things much easier. So since day one, even before the pandemic, we were working remotely. We could work remotely. It was very easy for us. So this balance has been since the beginning for us at Alpian in the NDA of our company. And it's something that remains very important to our values.
Thank you, Marion. And then I was thinking about innovation as per se. Is innovation something, how does it impact your work?
I can take this one. Well, as said before, the innovation is part again of our DNA. We have, you know, in the wealth management industry, you have for decades the customer centralization. But what is now different with the fintech industry is that we create the processes around the client, and we make sure we are always answering their needs while we are building our solution. So we tailor-made the experience to each of our clients. I would say this is the real innovation, and we tailor-made the answers to them.
Thank you, Marion. I'd like to pick the brains of Natasha, as we haven't heard from you yet. My first question was more about fintech and how the pandemic pushed, maybe accelerated that topic, also maybe women in that area. You're more in the impact investing area, ESG, sustainable investments. How did you see COVID impacting that area?
Oh, massively. I mean, in the discussion we have today, COVID has been very shifting the let's say the discussion we have with investors. We coming out of an area where everything was about climate change. We have 2 years behind us now that with the demonstration, with the population, the Paris agreements were signed in 2015. So it was really, impact investing was a lot about climate change. The pandemic has changed the discussion and shifted it to the people side. We have now seen that there are challenges in our economy, in our world, that is as important as the environment, and that is touching people in terms of health, in terms of access to basic needs. And I think this is getting this is increasing, let's say, our universe of investment necessity.
Thank you, Natasha. Then we spoke about how the new generations are more receptive to fintech, and I can just tell by myself, me as a millennial, I don't just rely on established banks. I use a neon bank, I use Apple Pay. So how do you see the behavior of millennials and the Gen Z influencing financial services?
Maybe I can take this one. Maybe I'm a millennial. There is two ways to see things. The first way is to see social theory. So yes, millennials tend to want everything now. So they want the time, they want the money, they want finance, they want energy. Also, they want everything now, and they want to be efficient. They are really connected to the mobile, and it should go quick and efficient. But I really believe that it's more a question of mindset. I can quote someone that said that youth is not a time of life, it's a state of mind. And I do really believe that it's just a question of mindset. People are really open to new technologies because they learn to use it, and it's not frightening from every ages. And whether you look at client side, and people are willing to easier their day-to-day life, including for their financials. However, you can also look at our people as employees. We have this idea that we want to have some impact in what we do on a daily basis. We want to be part of something. And I think if you call it millennials, you can call it also mindset. It's really connected to innovations. And I do believe in fintech, we have a lot of this kind of people, and it's for the good.
Thank you, Caroline. Olga, how do you see?
Look, I think it's like a twofold thing. One is, digital convenience is no longer a differentiator; it's an absolute necessity. I mean, we are so used to having kind of an efficient digital life, and so it's very hard to understand why, when it comes to your finances, you would want or you would expect it differently. So I think that's probably a provocative statement. And on the other hand, I think all of this digital also sheds on, I think it was so nicely said before, right? This focus on people. Sometimes you don't want to be only digital. Sometimes you do want to speak to a human person. And I observe in kind of my financial education seminar that many people, young people, older people, whoever they might be, tend to choose for both, for different types of their investments, for different objectives of their life. And so I think we truly do live in a hybrid world. Absolute fact is that the digital convenience has to be there, but that doesn't mean that it will solemnly replace the human factor of what finance traditionally used to be. So it is a great opportunity for a hybrid model.
Thank you, Olga. Anyone want to add something?
Yes, I am very passionate about that topic. Thank you for raising it, Olga. I think, I mean, first of all, the millennials and Generation Z, they basically have a different outlook on life and they have different values. So basically the products and services that we'll be seeing in the future will be different. There's also going to be a push for transparency. And the transparency comes not only in terms of the product composition, it's also in terms of the pricing. But the third point is also the engagement model. People who want to interact when it's convenient for them and where they are, basically. So the whole engagement model will be very, very different going forwards. It will be very much based on being able to self-service. But then the other hand, as Olga mentioned, was also the hybrid model. That human touch and that human presence is going to be so important to help you, guide you when you face changes in life, whether that's a professional or private. And I think that's a big value of having that human presence very, very present to accompany clients in the financial journey.
You're on mute.
You are presently on mute, Tanya. We can't hear you.
Excuse me. Thank you. So it happens to professionals as well. So my next question is, one of the driving forces of the fintech sector is the ability to offer solutions and financial market access easily, to democratize the access. Do you think it's also a duty of fintechs to educate people when it comes to financial know-how? And yeah, maybe Olga, because you do have a platform. You want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is a duty of financial services, fintech or not, to help people to get a grip on their money, to be good with their finances. Mind you, we still represent generations that never had the opportunity to learn about these things at school. One research which I particularly love from the UK is about, you know, what are the top 10 things that you wished you had learned at school? 5 of them relate to money, and number 1 was budgeting. And if you look at Switzerland, you know, financial literacy still is something that we all have to deal with and our children have to deal with. And I think it is the duty of the industry to help to facilitate impartial financial education, to help to facilitate an easier understanding linked to the point of transparency, an easier understanding how our processes function, how our products are being put together, what is inside them, what do they cost, and what customers can expect as a result of them. I think we have made great progress, but we still have way to go. So there is a huge financial education opportunity out there, and it actually is a necessity. All of the data from the OECD, for example, 1 in 4 people on the financial literacy framework, 1 in 4 people can answer simple questions such as what compound interest is. So I think we still have way to go, and it is our duty, but also our interest as an industry, fintech or not, to make that knowledge accessible, to make it understandable, to stop hiding behind acronyms, and to basically also, I think, make money more fun. Just make it more fun. It is such an interesting subject. right? But we've done a stellar job in kind of mystifying it a little bit for people. I think if we have the courage to say, you know what, it's a brilliant thing, it's an everyday life subject, it's so closely linked to everything that we do and touch in life, it will become a lot more understandable and accessible to people, and especially to young people who I think need the financial education the most.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I may add, I can only be agree with what Olga said. I think it's even more than a duty. I think it's a responsibility from the financial industry to start educating people about financial matters. Because my concern is, it's great to make investment fun, but it's also a risky game if you take it this way. And I think before you start providing tools for people to start invest a lot of money, I think the education part is key in this industry.
Absolutely, and
Yes.
if I can add to that, I wasn't suggesting that we gamify everything.
No.
I think my suggestion was probably more in the link to say we can make it interesting. Okay, we can make it interesting beyond the charts and the graphs and the massive amount of data. And I think this is what will make people connect to financial services, and also will address the topic of trust that we started to discuss at the start of this panel, right?
Absolutely, and even if we go further, once people are comfortable with the investment concept, it's actually going to change the world, because capital allocation is going to shift towards companies that provide a solution, and that's where we're going to see a massive transition in our economy as well, because this is needed if we want to have a sustainable economy that is emerging.
I also believe that we do have an important role to play in that part as well. Take the example of a young woman who's starting out in her career, encouraging her to start early and start investing with small pieces of money, and then basically doing that on a regular basis, and also taking a bit of risk, because women do tend to be risk averse, and doing that with a pocket of assets they can set aside for a couple of years, say 7 years. That can be a very, very nice start to basically securing a more financially strong and also future for herself. Life will basically hold many, many unanticipated events, personal and professional, and we need to secure a stronger financial base. And by starting early, I think that would be a great achievement that we can do via the fintech space. And in addition to that, fintech allows us to educate women and also all our future clients as well. Bite-sized learnings, how to get started, how do you create an investment plan, how do you create the route to financial independence. There's so many opportunities that we have in fintech, and also communities, sharing networks, basically, sharing what are your investment ideas, being transparent on what should be the investment ideas. I think there are just a lot of very, very interesting opportunities to be seized with the innovation that we're having ahead of us right now.
Thank you very much, Mari. We're getting so many questions that are coming in, and I haven't even touched upon them. So before we go to those, very quickly, maybe to Marion and Caroline as well, just for people to understand a bit better, because you before were in more traditional financial sectors. What made you go into the fintech area? Hold on, Caroline.
Thank you. The first motivation was innovation is not just something that is on development part, on coding part. Innovation is through all the activity, all the processes, all the tools and innovation. And the key part for me is that you rely on your tools, and you are the interface between your tools and your needs. In a startup and in a plan, for instance, you just reconsider, re-engineer your process. You want what you want. You client focus, so you want to organize everything based on this. And related to this, you can organize your activity, your processes, your tools. You are supported for this. You are welcome with your ideas, and you have the means to change this. So this is the first motivation. Second one is maybe related, is that you can take part. It's not just a word on a line. You part of something. You really part of something. You're not part of something when it's thousands employees in a big structure. You're really someone that is acting in something. And when you want to work on a stream to offer a new product to clients, it just relies on you and your colleagues. It's not committees. It's not long processes. It's okay. Let's do it. It's efficient. We still risk person, so we still comply with every kind of regulation and best practices. But we have this mindset to be able to push our things and to achieve things. So I'm taking part of it, and that's a good value to have.
Thank you, Caroline. Marion, what made you leave the traditional financial sector and going to fintech?
Well, we can change the rules. We can change the rules. We can give access to a different type of information to clients. We can demystify investment. We can make it simple, and we can with transparency. I think we have the whole team all together. There is also another aspect of it. I truly love the human being, and then you have, we keep talking about the clients, but you also have the employees on the other side. And I think it's a very important element as well, because they are building the future at the same time. So they bring their own experience, they bring their values, and they bring this attitude that Caroline keeps mentioning about, this mindset. And we can truly change the rules. That's why we are actually doing this.
Okay, so you mentioned demystifying wealth. I'm taking the first question in from the audience. I'm just showing it on the screen by Christian Frauci. How can you make the topic fun? You talk about demystify, but all banks I know are boring and do nothing to educate on the topic. Who wants to go first?
Okay, I can take that one, right? Because I came with the subject of fun, so back to me on that. I think it's two things. One, having the courage to apply different analogies. In the end, what does investing mean? It means deploying money into real companies with real people that produce real products, right? So to give you an example, you can explain the stock market and how it functions on an enormous amount of charts, and certainly you will do a great explanation and potentially half of the people will fall asleep. Or you can take companies that are listed on the stock exchange that represent everybody's daily products, be it from an iPhone to, I'm a chocolate lover, so to chocolate, and use them as an example to explain how a whole market functions. The end result will be the same, but just in the second example, people probably won't fall asleep because they will see instantly the connection to daily life. And I think there are some really interesting people now outside of finance altogether that really start to take this topic to kind of an art to make it fun. Miss Down Jones, you might like or might not like her, but look her up. Some of her videos are just hilariously funny. And I think this is our opportunity to engage people with real life examples, not with hybrid concepts. Real life people with real life questions. When I created what I created in financial education, I first asked over 1,000 women, what is it that you want to know about money and what would help you to actually be good with money? And then center the education around the answers to these questions rather than broadcasting, become more financially literate. I think it's these two things that will make it a lot more fun. And we should take the freedom that we have and the courage that we have to really work with images, with colors, with real people, and get away with the jargon. No acronyms, no hiding behind acronyms. I'm pledging here, no hiding behind acronyms.
Thank you, Olga. And we stay on the topic of education because there's another question by Mary Ann Reynolds. I'm showing it now. Any advice on apps that would engage, educate, and motivate a 16-year-old boy, okay, to understand his money and investments or saving options? Yeah, I'll leave it to you.
Look, currently there are not that many apps geared towards boys. I think probably would be good to either create an environment to test, right? So with some small amounts to create an environment to test his own investments. The other thing is, and shouldn't sound by any means self-serving on this panel, but yes, in SmartPurse we have roughly 40% male users, even though it has been geared as a female venture. And there are a couple of really cool educative videos that could be watched. But most importantly, I think as a parent is to have the dialogue with your child. Understand what motivates them, sit down with them to discuss what is it that they want their money to do and what is it that they want it not to do, where should it go, what are the values that they want to express. And that will make you not only for a stellar financial education discussion, but actually it will also bring you closer together as a parent and child. I have these discussions with my boys every now and then on different subjects, and it's always a wonderful experience.
I believe you're right in the sense that I think the question by itself is the answer, and how to educate children means that you as a parent are already educated, or you have the knowledge of this, how you should handle your financials. And I think this is what fintech should do. They should focus on give some advice and some really good advice, and I'm sure Marie could talk a lot about this, but I think in the question you have also the answers. It's related to training people, to education. You're on mute, Marie.
Sorry, it's okay.
Yes, I mean, I'll gladly pick up on that as well. Yes, I mean, I think it's pretty practical. I would also turn around the question, what would you like to achieve? What are your short-term, what are your medium-term or long-term goals? And work out together what are the plans to get there. I think that showing basically in what time frame and how much you need to save. I think that will be coming back to Olga's earlier point there about the basics of financial education, and I think that's critical. So there are many tools to get there, and we are very, very passionate about developing this. How can we engage in a better financial situation for ourselves and for our family, for our children, and these are topics we do engage on in our series on i-vest, where we basically do try to promote and engage in this financial education.
Thank you, Marie. Then we're also, let me just take this out. We're also organizing this panel ahead of International Women's Day, which is on the 8th of March. So just to say that there's a comment by someone saying via Facebook, how about celebrate women every day and not just one year? I just wanted to put that in and then continue with this question by Natalie, who is quoting a report by Oliver Wieman that women make up about 18 to 20% of executive committees in the global fintech banks. If you can comment on that, on the current status and how you see the development.
Maybe it's thanks to my financial and scientific background. I will take figures with a lot of, I'm very cautious with them. I do believe Oliver Wyman, they did a great job, but just a figure is not summarizing everything. And I do believe it's far more complex than this. You cannot just, you have to analyze correlations and cause to consequences. There is some tools of this in statistics, but the idea is to, a figure doesn't mean anything. You have to find the causes of this. And I'm not sure just the gender is the only and efficient cause of the figure. So I would be very cautious. Maybe there is some, indeed, some difference. Maybe it's due to other things, but things should be taken very carefully when it comes to figures. You're on mute again.
Tanya, you're presently on mute.
Okay, I was muting everyone so that when Caroline speaks, we can hear her as clearly as possible. So do you agree with what Caroline said? Or do you have another view on the status of women and how do you see the development?
Yeah, yes. I don't think it's linked it's linked to the fact of being a woman. You're looking to have the best fit for any type of role, and it can be It's not related to the gender. It's not related to the age. It's related to the experience. And if you don't have the right fit for that, sometimes it happens to be that it's only men participating into these committees. Or look, we are 3 women at Alpian, and it happens only to be that we are 3 women. It's not linked to the gender. And then we have not to forget that. Don't forget, at the end, we need to do. There is a role that we are employed for, or we're looking for to fill in, and it's not based on demographics.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Marion.
And if I can add to this, I think that financial services should just, in general terms, embrace more diversity, to get more diversity of thought, right? There is this fintech disruption, but there also is huge disruption as, you know, larger players like Apple, Google, etc. get into more and more into finance. And these are all companies that, you know, embrace diversity to a certain extent, or are, as it has been said before, closely connected to their customers, understand their customers at heart. And so I think if we want to progress as an industry, we need to actively embrace diversity, not just from a gender point of view.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Olga. Then I was just wondering, Natasha, because I can imagine that the area of sustainable investing and impact investing, that there are probably more women.
No, I wouldn't say that. Maybe at the start of the industry, when maybe 20 years ago, there were more women in the let's say ESG space, but I think it was just the fact that a lot of the companies that put CSR program in place were in the communication department. And it's true, in the financial industry, the spotlight wasn't really on sustainable investing. So maybe it didn't draw that many career opportunities that a man would like to follow. But I think today sustainability issues is not a matter of sensitivity. It's a matter of realistic. Seeing the world as it is, and seeing the challenges that exist. And I think you don't need to have feminine lenses to see that there are a lot of issues that need to be tackled. I agree a lot with what Olga said. We talk a lot about gender diversity, but I think especially in the investment space, it's such a huge added value to have people from different backgrounds, not just in question of gender, but also in terms of expertise, education, even culture. It really brings different ways to look at investment opportunities, and it's a very big added value.
Thank you, Natasha. Then one thing are women in the fintech area. The other thing are also women as customers. And I'm also quoting the Oliver Wyman report that says that women are about 25% less confident in their financial acumen compared to men, but about 40% of global wealth is now held by women. And Oliver Wyman estimates that about $700 billion in revenue opportunity each year are untapped because of that. So obviously, I guess financial services are trying to tap into that market. Some are even trying to pink labeling. Does this help women to become more confident when it comes to their financial matters? Who wants to go first?
I can start off there. I think, first of all, yes, women do basically have a very important role in being the decision makers on the financial matters. So I think that's one aspect. In terms of pink labeling, what I have seen that works is basically creating portfolios that are basically based on gender, portfolios of equities, for example, so that women, for example, that have that preference, they want to influence the future for ourselves and for our children. These are stocks that you can actually invest in, or these are portfolios of stocks you can invest in. So that'd be one way potentially of finding, pink labeling that could be of appeal to this type of segment.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Marion. In the meantime, I'm just going to show you some more comments. Patricia Pierlask she referred to Olga before: embrace overall diversity and inclusion and foster true innovation. And Saida Gomez is saying diversity is very important in regards to customer centricity. Maybe you want to comment on the comments.
Yeah, I mean, I can comment on that. The diversity is very important with regards to customer centricity. Absolutely, it is. Because otherwise you need to learn everything through research, rather having the people that potentially could be customers or users of your product already creating it. Mind you, everybody who works in a financial services provider also is a potential client, right? So it doesn't have to be such an artificial exercise. Only if the creators are very monolithic, then you know what comes out might appeal only to a certain customer group. And I think to the point of, you know, this pink washing, as you could almost call it, it is very true in the Oliver Wyman report that yes, women do represent a huge customer segment. I mean, 8 out of 10 purchasing decisions are influenced or taken by women, naturally. So it is a huge opportunity, not only for financial services. We are a huge opportunity and a very powerful purse. Does that mean that we need pink financial products? No, it doesn't mean that we need pink credit cards and pink financial products. But what it means is we need, as an industry, to adopt the customer experience to all the things that have already been said around more transparency, being more welcome, being more fun, and explain what our industry has to offer. And the beauty of it is that when you do it for the women, everybody else will benefit, because the young people, and actually I believe many people out there, just do not demand anything extraordinary other than flawlessly functioning processes, good and honest communication, transparency, all these things that have been said. It's not uncommon wishes. So when you improve it for the women, your overall customer experience benefits. And what I have found in my previous role working in the bank and running such a segment strategy really was that it's not about the pink products, but you also have to start somewhere. And because women are such a powerful segment, it is a very good starting point to get it right for the women.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Olga. There's another question. It's a bit broad on the current biggest challenges within the fintech industry that Nitin is asking. I will just add one of my questions, and maybe you can combine, which is, do you think that fintech can also help break those barriers for women to become more tech savvy, and what are the challenges? It can also be the challenges in the fintech industry in general.
Well, I think one of the challenges that the fintech industry has is basically done to create recurring revenue streams. I think that's one of the main issues right now. So basically, how do you basically then provide a product service setup that can help them, the fintech industry, get recurring revenues? So I think that would be one of the aspects there.
And another one that would be to consider is that you have to remember that with innovation, you need to truly understand who is your client behind it. So someone who's going to invest has different values, has different way of that we need to integrate. His uniqueness is very important to be taken into consideration. That's why having a hybrid model between answering, demystifying, and giving access to information is important. But at the same time, having like a, you accompany your client where you have you can give him advice. And I think it's a hybrid innovation of these both elements that should be taken into consideration. It has to be done the proper way. If not, it's going to remain a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Marion. Anyone wants to add something? Maybe, Natasha, we can also continue with the sustainable ESG investing. What are the challenges you see there in that area at the moment? We also hear a lot about, greenwashing and.
Yeah, I was going to say we talked about pinkwashing, but I think the biggest challenge for the industry right now is greenwashing. But in a certain sense, I think it's a natural process. And I think it's actually great when you see that people see a commercial opportunity in an industry such as this one. That means that there's a future for it. So we're not in a niche, and I think we are starting to get into the mainstream investments path. So to come back to greenwashing, I think the legislator has defined some action plan to go over it. We are going to face a lot of regulation coming from the European Union towards the transparency about the processes, about the funds, about what is in place. And it's going to draw a very strong line for products that claim to have some sustainability objectives. So that's the next big challenge. And for sure, it's never good to have too much regulation, but at least there will be some kind of transparency where the clients will be able to actually pick and choose what he thinks is a real product or a real sustainable product.
And do you think that fintechs can somehow help in that area? Do you, in the area of impact investing, for instance, do you see any progress there?
Sure. I mean, we talked about education. We talked about the fact that it brings finance towards the people that maybe didn't access wealth management. And we don't have to forget something, that everybody in our society is a potential investor through their pension fund. So the more they understand, the more they are, let's say, at ease with these concepts, the more they will be able to actually also challenge their pension funds and how they are managed. And I think that's a great step. Having said that, technology is a big help and is a necessity in our industry right now, because data is the key word when you want to make smart investment decisions. You have to be able to aggregate sources of data from different data from different sources, different formats, and you have to be able to give a sense to that data. So technology is absolutely key in the financial industry right now.
Let's stay on the topic of technology, because we got also one question asking. So we talked a lot about fintech, the fin part of fintech, but not so much about the tech part. How do you use technology to be customer focused, for instance, proprietary technology, third parties, etc.?
We make sure we are answering at a very high level all aspects of the investment. And if we need to do some third parties partnership, we will always do. And that's something that we can bring very easily in the fintech. Of course, it needs lots of organization for it, but you can add different aspects of, I don't know, I would say some payment elements, and you make sure, for instance, the Forex is always going to be the best Forex we're going to offer the clients, or at every levels. And these third parties are definitely giving a whole new space to the industry.
Thank you, Marion. Does anyone want to add a bit more on the tech part to make it customer focused?
I do believe it's a part of innovation to understand what is the customer needs and to understand what resources we have and we can find in order to serve the best way the client needs. And I think it's one of the strengths of Alpian to be able to not to rely on something existing, but to be able to build what it needs for what we want to the purpose we want.
Okay, good. Does anyone want to add? Otherwise,
yeah, I can just add there a point there as well. I think, our ambition is very much to really build a perfect client understanding, and with that client understanding, the idea will be basically to serve our clients better and also to be able to anticipate needs for these clients and the future. So it's coming back a bit to the hybrid model, the value there of the technology platform, the artificial intelligence, plus adding in then that human presence to the client.
Thank you. And as this panel is called a female fintech futures, I would also just go again just to one gender question, which is the most influential corporate governance guidelines, such as the OECD principles on corporate governance, for instance, recommends having a diversified board and executive committee. So I wonder, it's basically recommendations are there. What needs to be done to make sure that this paradigm shift happens?
I actually think that is happening. On board level, on executive committee level, it is happening. It is happening in financial services in larger players. It is certainly happening in the smaller, or I would say smaller, the more innovative players, right? Because the opportunity is there. I think that this starts to be recognized, that a certain level of diversity is super beneficial, and I personally am very positive about that. It might not be happening as fast as we all want, but then, many other aspects around us, not necessarily linked to board levels in financial services, are not happening as fast as we want. But I personally have observed a lot of positive change in that area.
And I mean, at Alpion, obviously, we have 3 representatives, is already quite diversified.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, it's diversity that matters, not gender. And I think for diversity, we are quite at a good level really already.
Yeah, if I may add, I think that there is a positive change. For me, it's too slow, and I think one thing we have to tackle absolutely is the pay gap. I think providing a real transparent way to rely on the equal salary, I think is going to be key to have to keep these young female employee motivated and willing to go further. And I think it's today it's a no-brainer that diversity is actually adding value in terms of economic terms. There's a study from Credit Suisse, I think, that makes a clear link between the return on capital in firms with high diversity at high level in the company. So it should be something that is thought as an opportunity and not a rule.
So most of you are positive there is a change happening. Maybe it's not even on the side of recommendations, or maybe it's even when you think about young women, maybe they don't think about that area, or they still feel like they don't dare to. So I wonder if you could give a recommendation to the young women that might be listening, or to your younger self. What would you tell them to, how do you get into this area? What kind of education do you need? Shall you go into tech? Shall you go into finances? Or what would you like to share there?
I will start on this one. Few elements. First thing, you need to do something you love. Become expert in what you're doing, and then after, make sure you're gonna have transferable skills. Because if you stay as an expert into that domain, then you're stuck. So you need to be evolving within the company. And another element is that get out of your comfort zone. This is what we are daily doing at Alpion, and this is where the opportunity is.
Thank you, Marion.
Yeah, I can only add on that. Absolutely, take some risks, and I think trust yourself. We are our best advisor, and if you have convictions, stay to it. But still, never stop learning. That's the curiosity. I think is the biggest asset you can have.
And I totally agree with both of you. I would add also that never rely on what exists, and always think what can be improved on your life, on your working life, on every aspect of your your day-to-day life, everything can be changed, can be improved. It just launch the process.
Olga?
Well, I would say give financial services a chance, because it carries this image of being, you know, for what it is. And once you dig very deep underneath the surface, you discover that it is a profession that has to do so deeply with human beings, so much with intelligence, so much with technology, and actually requires an enormous amount of creativity. And I just wish that many young people would kind of embrace it for the stellar opportunity it is. And here is me talking, right? A woman now since more than 15 years in financial services. I never wanted to go and work in a bank. I really not. I got put there as a consultant, and then it kind of grew on me so much. So when you are a young woman, consider this as a profession, because it might be completely different and far more fun, promised, than the image that it carries. And the more women we can engage into our industry, the less we need to have these talks about diversity, because, you know, it will happen naturally.
Very nice. Marie?
Yes, I think that we are at a very exciting turning point in the industry. So I would really encourage everybody to look into the fintech. And I think also just reach out to people that you admire, tell them why, and try to just build connections. Don't think that, they are of a different, level, whatever. I just think that try to create connections and help you get to where you want to get. I think there are no limits, and I think that, being bold, being courageous, being curious, I think that's really the recipe.
Then we're also talking about the future. Nitin George is asking, what are you most excited about for the future of fintech? Looking ahead, what are you engaged with and looking forward to? Marion?
Things are totally changing. Look at this. Everybody can go into and do some investments. Everybody can learn and can access any information. And then we give a whole bunch of tools to people. So, this is super exciting, because investment can be, you can open a door and you can start to do it. And it can be at all levels, not only on the banking industry or the private private bank industry, at all levels. The norms are moving, and the pandemic has shown us that we can move very fast if we want to. And I think and on that part, I would be very woman. I think we're moving things very fast, and we can adapt quite a lot. All of us have children, and we have to adapt daily to our own children. And this is what we are doing within the industry, pushing hard. When we think we have a limit to something, we push the wall again, and we see that finally there is no wall, and we can change it. So.
And you, as a managing director at Alpion, the future is bright anyway. I think you have this platform i-vest, right, that people can check out already.
Totally, they can have access to a whole bunch of information, and they can understand any times. They can start. You just need to put in your email address, and then after you can start to educate. We will ask you some questions, and over time we will get to know you more and more. We will start to build a relationship, and we hope over time we will be able to answer your needs precisely. We are always very open. This i-vest is it's a situation on both sides. It's a platform on both sides. We are always listening to you. It's not only a platform, you have human behind this. And this is what is linked to Marie and her department. We make sure the clients are understanding what we are doing, and we make sure we accompany them. Demystifying is the real word of this. But we go, it's not only on investment. We want you to have fun at the same time. We want you to bring this to your own values. having this moment where you like, okay, I love what I'm doing, and because I'm building something for my own family, I understand what I'm investing into it. I'm doing a budget on this. Alpian is helping me to make sure that I'm not spending my money that I've been putting years to put all together. And this is what we do with i-vest.
Great. And the website is www.i-vest.ch. I'm just going to throw that in. Yeah. What else are you excited about the future of fintech?
I would say for us to have the FINMA license so we can start launching our activities and proving what we're talking about here today. That's really what I'm looking forward to.
Hopefully that happens soon. Olga, what about you?
Look, I'm super excited about the opportunity that fintech will allow even more and more for people to connect their values with what their money does. I think it is such a pivotal opportunity, not just for the financial services industry, but actually for society. And that this technology and this innovation helps to facilitate this at a speed and scale that was not seen before. And that makes me super optimistic and super hopeful for society in general, because I think money is a very powerful tool. Money links to your values is a super powerful tool. Links to the point on the pension funds, for instance, that was made before. And fintech makes these processes easier. It makes them more transparent. It makes them accessible to almost everyone. And I find that super exciting.
Thank you. Then I'm just going to read Peregrino, just said very insightful. Thank you. Wish you all great of success. Geneva Wealth Tech Forum. Congrats. See you soon. Christian Marchand. So anything to close before I close it? Is there anything someone wants to still say in 2 or 3 sentences that couldn't?
Maybe a big thank you to hold this panel and to allow us to discuss, maybe not only on female in fintech, but also in fintech and innovation and what is the future of it. And we are really pleased to begin to show to Swiss clients and to the world that we are soon here.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Olga, Marion, Natasha, Caroline, and Mari for being here on this panel. And thank you everyone at home for listening, for joining, for sending in your questions and comments. This was a first, but if you liked it, then we hope we'll do this again. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye.